Welcome along to the Cardiff City phone-in. We waited until we got a good run going, and then we gave up and started anyway. So on the panel tonight, we got Dave Sugarman, we got Mark Pontin, and we got Steve Wiggy Wiggins. Because you live near Swansea, Mark, so you get the most kind of emotional pressure on you. I'll go to you first. How can you sum up these first 5 games so far and where we're at?
I got a few choice words, but I can't use them on a live stream. I mean, I remember saying when in the last season, I said probably take him on and he'll be gone by Christmas. I'll be shocked if he makes the weekend. I'll be shocked. I'll be even more shocked if he makes Halloween. So it's just an embarrassment. I'm embarrassed. I mean, I was I did a gig the other week in Risca in a Cardiff City pub. And they all had their shirts on. The game was on live. They made us start later, so I got to watch the game with a group of fans at the pub, And it was despondent. It was just disbelief. I don't know what else to say. I mean, I've said it all on this show over and over again the last God knows how long, and it's tactical delusion. If he's got any tactics, I don't think he's got any tactics. I think he just sticks to this 4-2-3-1, which is not a traditional 4-2-3-1. There's no playmaker. The defense is terrible. Gutas doesn't work on the left now. They sold McGuinness. Yes, he's had a problem with injuries. They didn't address the striker situation. They bought a load of players, but they're not quite ready to play yet. I mean, it's just shocking. I mean, everyone else is gonna be the same as me. There's no more words to describe how bad this is. There's no more words. I can't see. We're not going to beat Leeds. We're not going to beat Hull. They've probably given him a 2-year contract. Hopefully, there's a break clause. But if there's not, it's all going to be about money. It's all going to be about who can we get instead. It's just a merry-go-round that's been going on. Let's be honest, for years. It's not just Bullet. It's been going on for years. It's shocking.
So how would that break clause work then, Mark? How would you imagine that working?
Well, I'm just speculating here. I don't actually know. But if they've got some break clause where he maybe his performance levels drop below a certain requirement, or he's lost a run of games, a certain whatever, that they've got a clause in it that says, right, you've breached your contract. Basically, you've reached this point, and we can. Not have to pay you the full whack, but I can't see that there's so much billions of pounds have been gone on bad management, and over the last God knows how long. I can't see them having that either. They gave him a 2-year contract, I mean, the only thing in his defence, which is very, very thin, is that he's had a few injuries. That's the only thing in his defence. But I can't see. As much as I like Isaac Davis can't lead the line on his own. He's not going to play 2 strikers, so he's not going to be our saviour when he comes back to fitness. I don't know about this Darland player, but he seems to be pretty good. But if he's not, then our defence is now even weaker than it was before, because McGuinness is gone, and I don't think there's any cohesion. There's no connections. There's no full-back winger connections. There's the midfield's all over the place. I mean, the pivot thing with the 4-2-3-1 isn't present. You've got the number 10 is dropping too deep. There's not linking with the striker. You've got Siopis is spraying balls all over the place, making mistakes, trying to get back for his errors and just being a headless chicken. I thought it might be better with Rawls in on Saturday, but there's no leader on the pitch. There's nobody controlling the game.
That's a good point.
Nobody putting their foot on the ball. Nobody dictating the play. I don't think anyone know what they're supposed to be doing.
Okay.
I got if Aaron Ramsey put his foot on the ball, he'd probably do his ankle.
So, with that interception, Dave, I'll go to you. How do you summarise that?
Well, I'm genuinely surprised that it's been as bad as it has, because I thought some of the signings looked interesting. While they all had question marks over them, there was no doubt they all had question marks over them, because I mean, Chambers hadn't played much in the last couple of years. Al Ghazi barely played in 12 months, it's almost 10 minutes or something. Kanga obviously could have been anything based on his career so far. Robertson, I thought, looked promising. But the key was that there was all this strange talk during the summer, which to me was utterly bizarre, suggesting that Bullock was going to play going to change the way he sets up and changes the way that the team plays, and it's going to be more entertaining. And I thought, well, he had months to do that last season when it was obvious we weren't going up and we weren't going down. So where this belief that things were going to change this season in terms of playing style came from, I just don't know. But, you know, we said on this show time and time again last year, and we said it on the message boards and various bits and pieces, that 12th place finish last season was just incredible, because it was the most, I genuinely believe this now, having been watching the City since 1975, I think that is the most false position I've ever seen a Cardiff City team finish in. I think that team was one of the worst 6 or 7 sides in the division, and somehow they finished 12th. And there were that many games that they managed to drag points out of that they didn't deserve. I mean, you do that once, twice. You're lucky if it happens 3 times a season. It happened so many times to City last season. It wasn't unusual. It was bordering on paranormal. I mean, it was just ridiculous. But and so the situation was that you had a manager who's being given credit by those on the outside, especially looking in. Oh, he's done a good job there, and he's got them to 12th. But the fact is, they were rubbish most of the season. You know, absolute rubbish for most of last season. And therefore, he gets another 2 years, and lo and behold, we've started even worse than it was at the end of last season. They look even less likely to score than they were looking at the end of last season.
Dave, I know you're really good with your stats. Dave Statterman, could work. We'll have to see how we go with that. But in terms of our worst start, do you know, numerically, was it 40 years or something?
I don't know what the worst ever, but I looked back on it a couple of weeks ago on the message board, and then that got circulated around. The last time we started a season as badly as this was 89-90, and it was the weekend that all the Oasis tickets went on sale. So I pointed out that the last time we started as badly as this, Oasis were 5 years away from releasing their debut single. That's how long ago.
It's a great start, yeah.
You know, and you look at the state of the team, and that team got relegated. That team did get relegated. But we're currently, I mentioned this stat last season, and some people poo-pooed it because it was, if you win, it doesn't matter how many games you win by, etc. But they're now on a run of 37 championship matches without beating an opponent by 2 or more goals. Can't beat anybody at anything at the moment, but 37 games. The last time was Bristol City last October, who they beat 2-0. No other club in the top 5 divisions of English football is on a longer run. Morecambe, who are rock bottom of the Football League, is currently second on the list with 32 games. They're 5 behind us. And they had to completely change their team in the summer because they didn't have any players left. That's how bad it is. People don't really, a lot of people aren't really appreciating just how these stats are phenomenal. Some of them, you can go through the history of the club and not find a sequence of stats as bad as this. So,
okay.
But we touched on when we were talking before that this business of fans singing Errol Bullock, we want you to stay, after a 4-1 home defeat to Middlesbrough, followed by a 5-2 battering at relegated Rotherham. To some degrees, the fan base is reaping what it's sown, I suppose.
Okay, there's loads of comments coming in. I'll go to some of them. Steve, I just want to give you your chance to, because I know you for a long time. You've made it perfectly clear you're a big fan of Errol Bullock, so I'll give you the chance to have a chat.
Yeah. Well, when you listen to those stats that Dave just read out, it makes it even. I think it compounds it even more. But I mean, the words that stick in my mind from last season are, for the sake of continuity and stability, then Bullet has got to stay. And those people that were saying all those things now, I don't see many people coming out of the hedge now mentioning those words. But there's still, even now though, after Dave's mentioned those facts, a couple of people today came on to me and said, I think you ought to give him at least till Christmas. Well, where's the next goal coming from? We can't honestly see where the next goal's coming from, can we? And tactics are exactly the same. But the big thing for me, Steve, is that the manager's not learned. I mean, he's tried this sterile formation and tactics, and okay, he's changed a few of the personnel on Saturday, but like Mark said earlier, I mean, it's just a merry-go-round. The tactics are still there. It's just different personnel. It's chronically bad. And I was hoping that they make a decision straight away after the weekend, but it looks like they're not going to. But I think
there were rumours flying around all day today, but it hasn't, come to anything.
No. But I think the longer we leave it, I mean, you leave it another 3 games. I mean, I saw silly things like people saying it was a real tough start to the season. We all know that every game in the Championship is a tough game, every single game. So, I mean, we got tough games coming every single week. What are you going to do? You're going to wait until Bristol City, where there's another 9 points down the Swanee? Because there's no way we don't actually look like winning the game. And like Dave said earlier, the lady luck was on our side last season. And I think a lot of us could see it, but a lot of people, unfortunately, were blinkered and they didn't see it. No.
There's a question from Jeff Delacruz. He, as usual, has come up with good ones. I'll put it to the 3 of you, right? So his question is, playing devil's advocate, Borough got 2 points in the first 8 games last season. Can we do better? What do we honestly think, Steve?
I can't see where the next point's coming from, Steve, unless he changes his tactics. And well, we were promised a bit more of an attacking formation on Saturday, but we still only have one up front, and we're still not creating anything. So no, I don't think so, Jeff. Sadly,
Dave.
Well, the thing is, this is the Championship, so anything can happen. I mean, if Leeds play like they played on Saturday, I watched that game, Leeds Burnley, and if Leeds play as they did on Saturday, they'll beat City comfortably next week. But
they
we know
battered us last year, didn't they? They absolutely just
yeah. But we know it's the Championship. That just doesn't always happen. Hull, I watched one of their games. I think it might have been Friday night when they were playing Sheffield United, and they actually looked really decent in the build-up, but they had no cutting edge at all either. So who knows how that one will work out? The 2 teams that can't score goals. So, but I don't know. This is the Championship. You know, a strange win is going to pop up somewhere when we don't expect it. The worry is that strange win would then give our friend another couple of months to pour us rigid, basically.
Mark, what do you genuinely think?
Well, Stoke have just sacked their manager, right, with the start they had, which was better than us. So yeah. I don't understand why we can't be ambitious and do the same, because it's only going to get worse. I mean, the last run we had was just about the start time last, and that was the only run he had in his tenure last year, was October, and it's been this way with the odd sneaky win ever since. So that's enough time to say that Errol Bullitt is out of his depth at Championship level.
So just to put one to
out of depth at British football level, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean, they talk about the Turkish, and a different style of play, kind of, different mentality thing.
He doesn't seem to have the ability to assess his opposition, to set up to beat them, or change mid-game in order to get things back onto a winning, or he just plays the same every single time. So if I was an opposition manager, I'd think, well, Cardiff are going to play like that. All we've got to do is stifle the attacking wingers, or we've got to put the ball over the top, etc., and it's happening all the time. I mean, and when you get a more shambolic defense that we've got currently, it's just easy. And yeah, we've had a couple of unlucky, like the Horvath goal that went in and he miskicked it and it went in, etc., which is going to drop heads a little. But some of the defending has been woeful. Gutas has been terrible. You know, it's I don't know what I'm lost for words. I can't see any hope at all. I think we should have done what Stoke did and we should have sacked him. You know, that I don't understand why we didn't. Is there no ambition for Cardiff City? You know, just we just see how it goes. It's just
okay. So I mean that leads us into this comment then. From there's so many comments. I'm just going to go to the comments really. So Reese David Evans. I'll start with you, Mark, and then I go to Stephen and Dave. Let's say they do sack him. Who realistically, do you want in? And who do you think City might go for?
I think we missed the boat. I know it wouldn't have happened because of his relationship with Tan, but I think we could have gone for Craig Bellamy when we had the option. Now, I don't really know. The only name that has been sort of shopped around is Nathan Jones. Apart from that, I mean, why are we always doing these experimental managers? Steve Morrison, Mark Hudson, give him a go. I know he was an ex-player, but give him a go. Errol Bullitt. Why didn't we just go for the Scott Parkers and the Steve Coopers and the people like that when they were? Why have we always got to get these people that are unproven? You know, I think we should go for someone who's proven, who has a philosophy, and we'll go for it. You know,
Steve.
Well, I've had a couple of names mentioned from people today. I'll just throw one in, but I've heard Giggs mentioned quite a bit. But
what
do you think, Dave?
Not for me, thanks.
No, not for me either. But I've heard that one. But it's like Mark said. Why we always seem to go
see
for
City doing that though.
Yeah, well, yeah, possible. Yeah, you never know.
Mark,
we always go for the unproven as opposed to people that have been around and can actually do the job in the Championship. I mean, it's plain to see that Errol Bullitt is way out of his depth in the Championship, and that's the reason that he shouldn't be in that office at the moment. So, but who we bring in is a conundrum. Is it going to be his number 2 there at the moment that was on the side on Saturday as a stopgap? Yeah. I don't know, but there's plenty of proven managers, if you want to use that word, like Gary Rowett and people like that have been around the block. But
is that guy Ryan Lowe? Is that a name that's knocking about?
Ryan Lowe, who's at Preston, as another one, and now obviously,
of course.
Yeah, Schumacher's out, and who's the guy who was at Norwich before Farker, the other German fella?
Wagner.
Wagner.
Yeah.
There's quite a few. There's quite a few that have done okay in the Championship that have been around.
Still there? Isn't Wagner still at Norwich, or is he?
No, he moved on, Dave. I think Stoker after their new bloke, aren't they? Mark will probably know.
Their assistant, I think.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, can I say this question always comes up, and I understand why people ask it, but I still don't really get the question, because the truth is I'd never heard of this bloke before we signed him. Never heard of him. And the thing is, I'd never heard of the bloke who's doing wonders at QPR. I'd never heard of the bloke who picked Sheffield Wednesday up by the bootstraps and took him up. You got this Schumacher or whatever. Well, I'd never heard of him until he was at Plymouth, was he, or whatever? Yeah, so I mean, there is a managerial merry-go-round where you kind of occasionally you see somebody and you think, well, you know, he'd be a good fit here, but I just don't know. And with a combination of the fact is these days the football world is so wide and so open in terms of players and managers and coaches, and the fact that we've got the three stooges running the club who you've literally got no idea what they're going to come up with next. I don't think it's a question anybody could answer with any sort of sincerity. But what I do know is that what's going on at the moment is not a sudden downturn in fortunes. What I know is that this is almost a year of rubbish football and poor form. So the question is, if you don't change it, people talk about stability. We'll be stable, all right? We'll be stable at the bottom of the Championship.
Yeah. The thing about it all is, Dave, is that this guy is Dalman's man. Dalman was the guy.
This is the point.
that wanted this bloke in. So I mean, if I was Town, I'd be knocking Mr. Dalman's door. Number one, and it's plainly obvious that guy shouldn't be in that position. Whatever, he's supposed to be a chairman. We never see the guy. He never talks to the fans. There's nothing, is there?
To be honest, if you remember the press conference when they unveiled Bullet, Dalman was actually taking the mickey out of Tan's football knowledge. Sort of suggesting he didn't know anything, and it was just as well he wasn't really involved in picking this particular manager. This is the man who described himself as the cat that got the cream when they appointed Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. That went well. Yeah. So that's the problem. We've got a chairman who, he's a very smooth operator in terms of the things he says, but his record does not bear up in terms of. The appointments that he's been involved in. We've got an old man in Malaysia who God knows what goes through his mind at any single point in time.
Nothing wrong with old men, just to say.
Well, obviously. And we've got a guy who spends 3 or 4 days a week at a car...
in London. Yeah.
A car salesman supposed to be running the club.
Bonkers. It is bonkers. So that's the root cause of a lot of our problems, isn't it? Having people like that running the football club, but there's no football knowledge there. If you're looking at bringing in a new manager, and you're looking at those two blokes, or even the three of them, to pick a new boss, there's our dilemma there.
Yeah. Well, when you think about it, though, how long has this got to go on? We had a saviour owner that came in, then he changed the strip to red, alienated the fan base. Then he what was his cousin or his stepson or something was brought in as some kind of football job that he had never been a football job before, and then we had all this debacle with legal cases, and I mean it's a laughing stock. He's telling David Marshall to shoot more and all this. Are we surprised that this is still going on now? That these decisions we've got 3 people that are running the club that are not football people at all. They're not football people at all. Other billionaire owners or multi-millionaire owners that have bought football clubs have employed football people to do the football part of it. It's just a shambles. Everyone seems to be too scared to say it, but we got the wrong owner. We got the wrong owner. I wish we'd had, the guy that just bought Birmingham, or the guy that bought Bournemouth, or even the Hollywood pair. Rather than what we got. We were unlucky. We got the wrong billionaire. It's
typical City.
Change. Not going to change.
Can I just respond to Geraint's point here about the horrendous start to the season that we were given? Yeah, and I've seen this mentioned on the message boards a number of times, and again, I just don't get it. I mean, the fact was we played Sunderland, who finished 16th in the Championship last season, Swansea, who finished 14th, Middlesbrough, who finished 8th. These are bog standard Championship fixtures. And okay, Sunderland have had a really good start to the season.
I think they're top or near top, aren't they?
They've got momentum at the moment, obviously, but it's not as if they're world beaters. They
didn't look great against us. I didn't.
No, they're an average Championship side. Then you had a Burnley side that were in total flux. Half the players that played against us for Burnley have gone now. As I say, you had the Jacks. Who else have we played? And a Derby team who came up finishing second and were the bookies' favourites to go straight back down. Yeah. So you can't tell me that's a horrendous start to the season. Leeds, Leeds is the first fixture now. You could have argued Burnley as well if they hadn't had such a turnover of players. But
it's like we said earlier,
Championship. It's not. You're not going to get an easier start.
No. There's no easy games. Just like we said earlier, is there? There's no easy games in the Championship. You can't look at that batch of fixtures and say that's going to be harder than the next 7 because Bristol City away is tricky. Leeds down here, and then Hull up there. Well, there's no easy game. The main crux of it all is our manager hasn't got a plan B. He sticks dogmatically to what he believes, and that's the reason we're not creating, we're not scoring, we're not winning games. That's the end of it.
So Steve, so that's a point I wanted to raise anyway. Was we lost, I think it was Middlesbrough, we lost 2-0, and then and there's going to be changes. And he doesn't. One thing Errol doesn't do very well, and he's done it quite appallingly on occasion, is slag off the players publicly, etc. But he made it perfectly clear after this. Okay, we're going to change it up. We're going to make this big change. Okay, change the keeper. A bit late, some people might say. Brought in Joel Bagan, which I would have done weeks ago, but there you go. But it was just the same, again, the same formation. And even then, when he's making the substitutions, like if we're going to bring, in my opinion, if we're going to bring on Aitana, he proved how good he could be down the left when he played left back last season. He proved that he can get down. He's got a good left foot. And then why can't we see Willock on the right? And if Robinson had been fit, I'm guessing hopefully he would have started. Yeah. But he just seems to. It's just that's the way it's going to be. You could argue, right? This is a guy who's got a vision. Okay, he's got a vision. He's got a style. It's what he does. He knows what he's doing. This is it. This is the model. He did say he played that formation before he started, by the way. Yeah, but can he not see that inverted wingers thing and playing from the back and all the rest of it? How can you create chances? Kanga could be Eusebio. If you're not putting the ball in the box with him with the right, how's he going to score a goal?
How long have we been saying that though, Steve? And again on Saturday, yes, he changed a few of the personnel, like we said earlier, but he still started with his 2 defensive midfielders. And the bloke we signed from Portsmouth, who allegedly every man and his dog were chasing, he sat on the bench. Well, surely that kid should be in the side, someone with a bit of drive, someone who can get on the front foot. But no, he sat on the bench.
And the difficulty is what he's doing with especially with the younger players, but he's doing with a number of players now. Unless you're going to give players a run of games and accept, you can't keep chopping and changing. On Saturday he made 6 changes. 2 of them were enforced to the starting lineup, and then he made 5 more changes as the game went on. I know he wasn't on the touchline. He was in the stands. He might as well have just held a flag up and said, "I don't know what I'm doing," because he doesn't appear to have any clue of what his best side is or what he needs to do. And it's the same pattern over and over again, whereby he makes changes at halftime. I've never known a manager make so many changes at halftime, which to me is an admission that you've got the starting lineup wrong in the first place, unless it's injuries, of course. And you've got this situation whereby he then changes things dramatically on about 65, 70 minutes because we're already behind by that point. And so then you're chasing the game. And it's like, nearly nicked an equaliser or whatever. But it's just a recurring thing that's been recurring since last October. It's not a recurring thing that's been, it's been like this for a month and a half now. Last October, we're almost talking a year.
So Dave, is that in a way arrogance? Is it stupidity, or is it the lack of tactical foresight? Is it all 3 of those things?
I mean, I've got no idea what. There was one lad who uses the message board who was a massively excited when we signed Bullet because apparently he had some sort of connection to futsal, and this guy's a big futsal fan.
Okay.
And he said, he's going to play a fast attacking, style of play. It's going to be great to watch. We'll never have seen anything like it here, blah, 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 blah. Well, that wasn't the impression that we were getting from the Turkish press or the fans who commented out there, who said he's a very defensive manager. Well, the situation is that seems to be in his mindset, that's the way he wants to set up. He doesn't change game to game. It's always the same routine. He just changes individuals occasionally. And the situation is that when you're changing them in the way that you are, they're not going to run into form. They're not going to get unless they get 3 or 4 games under their belt on the trot, especially the kids, they're not going to bed into the side and change this. If you just, 20 minutes here, stays on the bench this week, in the starting lineup, hooked on 60 minutes there, don't see him the week after, 20 minutes there. I mean, I know these days, big squads and rotation and all this nonsense. But the fact is, we're out the cups almost immediately. So it's not as if we're not in Europe or anything daft like that. Give the guys a chance. Give them a
West
chance.
Brom, though,
Side.
West Brom flying the flag at the top of the league have had the same side every single game. Every single game.
Wow.
They've
What a good point that is.
Yeah, yeah. And ultimately, all Bullet does every single game is set Cardiff City up not to lose.
Yeah,
absolutely, totally.
Yeah, that's what he does. I mean, he's got no intention of actually winning the game or beating whatever opponents there. We're set up not to lose that game. And then we go one behind, and then as soon as that goal goes in, I'm probably like yourselves, you think that's it, game over. And like Dave says,
he'll run down. Yeah,
bring his subs on 65 minutes. Let's hope there's a flash of inspiration from someone, and we nick a goal, and that's it. That's the tactics.
Yeah, going back to those stats that I gave you earlier, where it's now 37 championship matches that we haven't beaten an opponent by 2 goals. It's 38 games the last time City scored 3 or more goals in a game, that was the 4-0 win at Huddersfield, which was more than a little fortunate. But okay, that happens. Definitely deserved to win the game. Don't get me wrong there, but 4-0 was a bit flattering. But on the flip side, during the same period, we've been defeated in championship matches by 2 or more goals on 17 occasions, and no less than 10 sides have managed to score 3 or more goals against us. So that shows you how lopsided everything has been during the last 11 months, basically.
So let me ask you a simple...
Sorry, Steve. I was just going to say, Kyle makes a good point there. He's saying start some of the younger lads. I mean, the only game that I can honestly say I enjoyed this season was the cup game against Southampton, where he threw the kids in.
What a match that was!
Yeah, we banged in a few goals. Okay, we lost in the end, but I mean, they had a fairly strong start that night, didn't they? But at least but all those kids that were in that side, they've all been sent out on loan, haven't they?
Yeah, including amazingly for me, Conte. I can't understand that. I don't begin to understand that one. But and then Reindorf, of course, comes into okay, he's in the squad, yeah. So what's he doing? Like taking Jaffa cakes around the half time or something? Is he? Well,
there's
give him a run.
There's a classic example. Saturday, he takes Kanga off. He's got off on the bench, and he puts Ashford on as kind of a false 9. Ashford is more of a wide player for me than a central striker. He's got Reindorf on there that he's perhaps trying too hard in that cup game, but he makes things happen. He puts energy in the side. Him and Colwell together could have fashioned something with Tanner coming in, but he picks Ashford. Why? That limits even more. We've lost the only striker in inverted commas we had. Has gone off the pitch, and we've got a striker on the bench. We don't use him. Why are Cardiff City's average age of first team like 29? Whereas
I was going to mention that, Mark.
Yeah, the top teams are all like 23, 24, 25. Why are we not blooding any of our youngsters? Why are we giving them 2-year contracts and then shift them out on loan again for another year? It's so much wrong. There's so much wrong.
I mean, that Sunderland side that came down here and looked impressive during spells in the game, was a really young side. I think there were three teenagers in the side, and there was several players who were 20, 21, 22. And then the following week, we go to Burnley, which ironically seems like it was the best performance of the season, a 5-0 defeat. But, they actually, they went to Burnley. City's starting lineup, the youngest player in the starting lineup was Kanga, who's 26.
It's bonkers.
I mean, it's bonkers. There's obviously no longevity in that. Going forward, and it's the sort of thing that just makes you wonder what they're actually trying to achieve at the club. Full stop. Because
they don't know. I don't think.
Because if they're not going to bring any of these youngsters through, if they're, a couple of the signings have been. I like the look of Darland. I really
like the look of Darland.
I like the look of him before I saw him kick the ball, because I just thought he looked like Glenn Louvens. So I
thought the same thing. Yeah, I think he's better than Louvens actually.
Yeah, Fisher's got a decent pedigree.
Yeah.
So and I didn't see the game on Saturday. I only saw brief highlights.
Same here.
But those that were there said that he actually looked reasonably decent. He was the only slight bright spot on the day when he brought him in. But interestingly, I think he brought him on in centre of defence and switched Chambers out to right back. Having hooked NG. So what's going on with NG? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, a couple of things on that. Firstly, I had a couple of calls over the weekend for people who went to Derby, and understandably, it's beyond a joke, really. It's fair, they spend a lot of money going to watch City. And all I want to see us do is play some decent football and look like we're trying, really. And if we get beaten by better sides, fair enough. But Derby are no great shakes. Let's face it. But to say they were disenamoured is a total understatement. I understand after the game there was a fair bit of understandable abuse thrown at the players from the away fans. And the guy I spoke to on the weekend was, you'll all know this guy. He's a massively well-known City fan. He said, when the away fans start to turn on you on the players, things ain't good.
No.
So he makes a good point there. But Daniel's got a question on then, and I'll throw one in. I'll answer Daniel's question and then see what you guys think. This one came up last season a few times, but I think it's becoming more and more, to me. I'll give you a few clues. It's becoming more and more pertinent, I think. Somebody who's on the books, who's already on a fair whack, whose best playing days are coming sadly to an end, who has a heritage and has played for some fine managers, including some of the very best, is currently maybe got to think about what he's going to do with the rest of his career. His name's Aaron Ramsey. So if we were to change, if we were to get rid of Errol, then I'm going to say Aaron Ramsey actually answers Daniel's question. Who do you think, player-wise and formation, would turn things around? What manager would need to get us back to winning ways? It's only going to go one way, one or two ways, I think, Mark, with Aaron Ramsey. He's either going to be up for it or he isn't. But it could be, couldn't it, the kickstart to the next stage of his career with his
it'll be a wonderful fairy tale, but it's another unproven manager for me. I mean, yes, he's doing his coaching licenses and all that, and he seems to have the correct temperament and the intelligence and the football brain for it. But it's a baptism of fire for him. Let's be honest, to come and manage his hometown club, and I'd hate to see him fail at that. I'd rather he went away, made a success, came back, and as a proven manager. I don't want
just to respond to that, and I'm not arguing the toss really, but just to say, we have played 5 games, just scored 1 goal, won 7.5 hours, at bottom of the table. It may not be a bad time to give someone else a go.
I think I'm just saying.
Sorry, Mark. I was
shattered. I don't want to know. I wanted Mark Hudson to do well.
We all did, I think.
God bless him, Sol Bamba. I wanted him to there's something wrong with the way the club is running, is working. It's not working. I mean, I don't think there's a manager that can come in when your club is signing a striker and sending him out to their second team in Belgium because it's for the future. But they're not looking at the present and watching the team that's going down the chute. So that striker that comes in maybe in a year's time is going to be playing League One football in British football. I don't understand that kind of thinking.
Yeah,
are they signing these players for the future? We need to sort it out.
The thing is that particular deal,
and he wouldn't do it any difference. It's
that particular deal is just weird. So realistically. And it's the sort of thing that never happens at Cardiff City. Realistically, it would be good for the club to come out and clarify exactly why they did what they did. Because, I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. Apparently, there were 3 or 4 other championship clubs who were vying for him. And
particularly when we signed him as well, Dave, isn't it?
And the fact was, obviously, as I think 3 or 4 of the messages that have popped up, whether or not anybody would score in this side the way they're set up is open to debate. But obviously, Kanga just doesn't look up to the mark. And as things stand, there's nobody else at the moment, unless he chucks the kid in. But bear in mind, we're all clamouring, and I can understand it on the back of the 2 cup performances, but we're clamouring for a kid we'd never heard of before the season started.
Yeah, I've never heard of Kanga though, to be fair.
Well, no, but yeah, at least he'd actually played a bit.
Yeah.
In some far-flung places.
Yeah,
Belgium being one of them. But
what about Jeff's comment on the screen there, Dave?
What's he got? The penalties as regards sacking. Do you know? I've noticed a little bit of bickering amongst the players as well. So if there's bickering on the sidelines, clearly everything's not going according to plan here. But that's something that's, that there's been some rumours in recent days that some of the senior players aren't happy with the way things are going behind the scenes, the tactics, etc. We never know how much store there is in any of this. But what I would say, when those sort of rumours get saying the senior players aren't happy, I should hope they're not happy. I'm not happy watching it. None of us, so they shouldn't be happy playing it. But
put yourself in their shoes, though, do you? They're going out on the pitch every week, and they're losing games every week. There's nothing worse than any football, whatever level you're at, going out and losing games every single week. And I bet they're not happy with the tactics, especially if you're one of the flair players or you've got a bit about you, because I think all the creativity in our side is being stifled by the manager and the coaches because of his tactics.
I agree with that, because you look at the reels of the players that he bought. I looked at David Turnbull's reel on YouTube. He looked a good player. I looked at Kanga's reel. He scored some great goals. But David Turnbull looks terrible when he comes on for City now. He doesn't look like he's got any experience.
Fish out of water, isn't he, somehow?
Yeah, Kanga just looks like a lost sheep. It's like, hello.
Yeah, hello, Cal. Do you want to join in on this conversation, Cal? Did you want to chip in on?
No, not really. But it's something, if your heart has been affected by the shocking performances of Cardiff City lately, there are free healthy heart checks for people over 40 at the Cardiff City Stadium on Thursday between 10 and 3. Hop down.
Former Q.
Good timing. Good timing.
I know, right? There you go, see.
Thank you, Kath.
That's posted by an M. Dalman.
No, thanks for that. That's nice. Yeah, thank you.
That's all right.
Get off. I'll get the tea on.
Not commercial radio like the ad break that was on. So there's a really fantastic comment coming in here from a lad called Holton, right? And this is his suggestion. So, and I don't know whether any of you responded to the Anne Ramsey idea. I don't mean it vague. I don't mean it just as a vague thing. I genuinely think it could be something the City could do to get the fans back on side. So Holton says, total boycott, save your club from these clowns. I'd rather be in League One with 10,000 fans than this modern day garbage. Go into admin and regroup in League One. Happy with that. Very, very controversial. Dave, you're a controversial figure. Do you want to respond?
Well, we're going to be in the Championship with 10,000 fans before long. I mean, the amount of empty seats around us at the last game, but by the Middlesbrough 10 minutes to go, it was we were like peas wrapping around a drum in the stadium. But I mean, the thing is, what we need, I think it couldn't be any clearer now. The club desperately needs a change at the top. It desperately needs a change of.
You mean above the manager, don't you?
Yeah. It needs changes right the way through, but I don't see it happening. I do not know what Tan gets out of this. I do not know what he's
hard to tell,
why he's hung around as long as he can. He's never going to get his money back. So he needs to go, and there needs to be a whole new feeling around the club, a whole new feeling of hope, a feeling of direction. And at the moment, it's just not happening.
Steve and Mark, do you want to respond to that for the idea of a boycott?
Well, exactly what Dave said. I think if the level of entertainment continues as it's been for the past over a year since Mr. Bullett's been in that office, then there will be no one in that stadium. Because let's be honest, it's not cheap to watch games these days, and I think there's other things that people will turn and ultimately go towards, even if they are football fans, because you can't keep serving up that level of entertainment every single week and expect people to pay good money to watch what is a complete nonsense, Steve.
And Mark?
I would like to see fan protests at the games rather than boycotting the games. You look at what Man United do. You look at what like the history of Wrexham and what they went through, and how the fans, processes for that particular owner. I think that Cardiff City fans have got a bit, shall we say, a bit soft on that kind of issue. I think they need to express themselves. This is a proud historic club. My uncle I almost swore then. My uncle gave his life for this club. I would like to see people protesting now. I've had enough. I mean, I'm sure there's thousands of City fans that had enough. I meet them all the time. Everyone's saying it, but nobody says it at the games. Nobody, very, very small voices say at the games. There should be mass protests held at the games. There should be protests out at the stadium before the games. We've got it. It's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. So that's
okay.
why.
All right, thanks. I just want to bring this comment in from John Wilkins, who's always a really good guest on the show. He's back in a couple of weeks, actually, and he was up at Derby. This is Dalman. He stumped up the cash to get him. Everyone said, especially the youngsters. I didn't know what I was on about. It's because John wasn't a fan from the beginning. I said this manager is a one-trick pony, and we're going down. So that point briefly, the Dalman thing, Dave.
Yep.
It's kind of interesting, isn't it? Because you got like an owner who's rarely, if ever, these days in the UK. He's got this gaggle of clubs. He seems to be using us as a feeder for some club in Belgium at the moment. And Dalman, who is sort of a lot closer, should we say, to Cardiff occasionally than Tan, brought this guy in, made a big fuss about him. I should say, even belittled Tan for his football knowledge. If it all goes horribly pear-shaped, doesn't that really bring things to a head?
Well, yeah, but they definitely seem to be take it back to last summer when Bullitt was appointed. Some of the things Dalman said were quite shocking, really, to hear from a chairman of a club. There was clearly a division there, and he actually said that in the last couple of seasons he'd lost interest, and basically that. Tan makes all the decisions anyway, so he wasn't. He'd lost interest, and then the appointment of Bullitt, because he was his man, had kind of rekindled his interest. There's clearly, whether it's a genuine division, but there's clearly they're going down different paths, and what Dalman's game is in that respect, who knows? But bear in mind, Dalman sort of in the past he told us he wasn't at the club when the decision to rebrand it was made, which was nonsense. He was. He kind of he's told us all sorts of strange things over the years that lots of them haven't really added up when you've looked at what's gone on. So I've never been entirely sure what his game is. He was trying to buy Charlton a couple of years ago, apparently. But
he's a bit of a sweet talker, isn't he?
Oh yeah. But that's the kind of thing that makes you more concerned about the future, is the fact that these are the three that are running this. We know that Tan is a loose cannon to a degree, but nobody can really understand why he's still involved. Nobody knows what Dalman's up to, if the truth be told, because he seems to be the public face of the whole operation. And at various times, he seems to be dropping hints that he doesn't agree with what Tan's doing. And then you've got Chu, who's obviously Tan's man because he's Tan's employee, who spends most of his time at a car dealership. So this is where unless that setup changes, we're just likely to drift along on the field realistically.
Just to mention a couple of things, there's some great stuff in the chat tonight. We can't show all the messages. I'm trying to show loads of them, but some people have gone for like tactical lineups, and thank you for that. It's always interesting to read through it at the end. Secondly, it's the first show tonight, but next week I'm not around. Simon is going to be hosting, and the week after John Wilkins and others are coming on the show. So we can look forward to that. I've got to say it at this point. I'm gonna say 2 words, and we will go around the 3 of you, and I'll start with you, Steve. 2 words are Sol Bamba.
Oh yeah, well, it's just a crying shame, isn't it? You know, and the legacy that chap leaves behind, not only with our club but with Leeds
Football and the football community, I think. Yeah.
He was just a genuinely lovely bloke. I mean, the times I saw him on Sky when he was out of work and he was a pundit, he wasn't bitter when he got ill initially, and it's just a crying shame. And let's hope that we do him proud on Saturday.
Yeah, and it's, you know, much as we got a thing with Leeds, you know, that I think that's something that certainly both sets of fans can definitely get behind. Mark, what's your thoughts on Sol Bamba as a kind of character and personality and impact he's made on you over the years?
Well, he's a Cardiff City legend as far as I'm concerned. I was dumbstruck when I heard the news, and I know that he'd suffered from cancer and things like that. But I actually thought when Lamucci left that Sol would come back one day. You know, I thought Sol would be back here.
Yeah, and when we let him go as well.
It irks me a little that his final performance was like a 10-second cameo or whatever it was. He came on as a sub. I wish he'd been given a better time of it. But I just thankfully, you know, I got to see him play, and I got to see Cardiff City with a passionate player like that playing. And you know, he's up there with the Phil Dwyers for me. He's a legend, you know. And I was very, very down when I heard about that. I mean, it's I can't go on the weekend, but I'll be hoping that the tribute is as heartfelt as it should be, you know.
Yeah, and Dave, you know, I mean, I never met Sol Bamba, but you know, I only ever heard great things about him, and he just one of those charismatic people. Had like a real kind of warmth and humanity to him.
Yeah, no, that was
a really lovable guy. I don't know what it was. I just really like Sol Bamba, you know.
Yeah, well, that was something that shone out, was that he was clearly loved and admired by his teammates, but also opponents. You could often see that, you know, at the end of games and various opposing managers and bits. And as Wiggy mentioned, it stood out when he was whenever he was a pundit on Sky Sports, how glad to see him everybody was in the studio, and what a personality, how he seemed to brighten the whole place up. He was just one of those guys. But turning back to the football side of things, it's been mentioned, you know, in the chat a number of times, the lack of leaders on the pitch. You know, what a great leader on the pitch he was, even when things weren't going so great. And that's the sort of character the current team is sadly missing.
He went through a brick wall.
Oh yeah. Reece Lasky as well. Thanks for that. Yeah, we you know, and again on the weekend, I hope there's going to be. I'm sure there will be significant tributes to Sol, and it will. You know, it is nice when football fans come together. You know, so Reece Lasky. And if we don't score next game, we'd be one of 4 teams to get 6 games into a championship season, and I've only had 1 goal. You know, the last game, I was listening to the phone in, I think, or it might have been the end of the coverage of the BBC Wales coverage on the weekend, Steve, and they were talking about when to become a crisis, and the point was made, well, it kind of is a crisis. And the last game was so big, he was making all these changes. It was just an absolute, you know, damp square, wasn't it? Now we got Leeds at home on Saturday. You know, how if we lose again, right, Steve? How long can we go on like that realistically? People say you can take a decision at 10 games, something like this. You know, are we already way beyond that? Do you think?
Personally, I don't think he should even be on the sideline on Saturday, but it looks like he's going to be. But I mean, if we lose again on Saturday, which is more than probable, he should go. I mean, the longer we leave it, things are not going to change, because he's going to set the team up the same way, same tactics, not to lose. and we'll go one behind. We'll start chasing the game on 60, 65 minutes and probably lose 2 or 3. I can't see us beating Leeds on Saturday. No way. And if we lose Saturday, then he's surely got to go. It's like Mark said earlier, we're dropping like a stone. I mean, we all know historically the longer you leave things, and if there's a void between, and there's already a little one appearing already, the further we drop behind, we're in big trouble.
Yeah. And for me, we've only got like a few minutes ago, but for me, it all comes back to the same old. Other clubs know this. Of course they do. We have no width. We don't create very much. We play with inverted wingers. We don't score goals. Once they got the first goal, bingo. Really, that's kind of where we're at. However, I do think we got much better players than the results that we're getting. So again, it points back towards the manager. But Mark, to paint a dark picture. Let's say we go, if we play let's say we play against Leeds like we did last season, where I thought we were appalling. And we go 2 or 3 goals down. The away fans were giving it to the players away. It's going to be a fairly unpleasant stadium to be in, don't you think?
Well, already
if that happened.
It already is an unpleasant stadium to be in. I mean, I think the fans have already, hopefully now they have, but there was talk last week's game that they were berating the players. But it's not just the situation we're in; it's the manner in which we lose. The way we lose, and the philosophy we have is, well, we lost 5-0 to Burnley because they've just come down from the Premier League. We played well for 45 minutes, but we lost 5-0. It doesn't matter how well you might have played in patches. We lost 5-0, and the remit seemed to be when he signed these players and they gave him a new contract. Oh, we're looking at the player that we're going to advance. That we're going to get higher than the 12th. We're going to do better. We're going to push for the playoffs. Well, it's almost already gone. If we lose the next 2 games, you can't see us making the playoffs unless it's some dramatic upturn in events. So the manner in which we are losing is indicative of the tactics and the situation. So I just think that he needs to go. The only option we've got, that the owner isn't going to go. The only option we've got is to get someone else in, and in some kind of way, I think he does listen to the fans, Tan, because I think we were all gunning. We wanted Hudson in, so he gave us Hudson. That didn't work out, but it shows that there's no one really knows what is the right thing to do. No one knows what's the right thing to do. The people who are running the club, the people who've got the say, don't know what the right thing is to do. We've got on paper, we've got some good players. On paper, we've got some good players.
I think we've got good players. I just don't think they're playing the right formation.
They're all made to look mediocre. By the way. They don't seem to know what the plan is. I don't think there is a plan.
Okay.
And that's not going to change. That's just not.
So we got about 2 minutes to the end of the show, and going back to something you said earlier, Mark. Yeah, and I'll let Dave respond to this, and then we quickly go around for the Leeds United prediction. So Michael Bassett comes up with a really, really, really interesting thing here. Didn't Spurs? I don't know if this is the case, but didn't Spurs avoid paying Jacques Santini in 2004 as they had a clause relating to their league position after a certain number of games? It sounded like it was on an initial probationary period, like you said, Mark, earlier. I wonder if we should have had Bullet on a probationary period. Do you know anything about that, Dave? Have you heard of that before?
No, I don't know about that. But the curious thing was that Bullet, it was reported during his first press conference that he was that his contract was performance incentive related when he joined the club. But they never told us what the performance related issues were. So it was impossible to know. But presumably finishing top half would have done it. But going back to what we were saying now, so we've got obviously a tough game on Saturday. The following game is Hull away, which, as I say, they didn't look to have a cutting edge. But if they click into gear, you're talking about the crowds. Can you imagine what the crowd's going to be for the following game, which is Millwall at home on a Tuesday night, which is live on Sky as well? I mean, you know, there's not going to be too many. You're going to think, oh, I know where I'll go tonight. So, you know, they need to. That's the sort of thing Tan actually does pay attention to. So who knows? Yeah,
I mean, obviously, I gotta say, hand on heart. I mean, the Cardiff City Phone, and we do try to be positive. You meant to think that and watch the show tonight, but honestly, there's not that much to be positive about, you know. So I think we got to say it as it is sometimes, and you know, things aren't good and need to change clearly. So let's just whiz around finally for tonight. I'm off to Bulgaria next week with my oldest daughter for a father-daughter trip. So there's a bit of lightness, bit of sunshine above Mark's head there, like. Nice. Hopefully above mine next week. We'll see. But just whiz around. So the Leeds game, Dave, score prediction.
I think 0-2. I think we'll set up so defensively, it'll almost be batten down the hatches from the word go. So I'd say 0-2, and then they'll nick a draw at Hull. How about that?
Okay, Steve.
3-0 Leeds Saturday, and I think Hull will beat us 1-0 as well. And then it's Bristol City. Then I think in the coming as well, so away. So
okay, Mark.
I agree with Steve. I can't see us scoring a goal. I can't see us even at home. I can't see us scoring a goal. So I'll do the same. 0-3 Leeds, and I think Hull will beat us away as well. I think 2-0 there, and I think Millwall will do us as well.
Okay,
anyway out.
Okay, just going to do. I think I know the answer, but I know we were overrun slightly, but I'll just ask you a straightforward question: it's a yes or no. As things stand, Dave, are we getting relegated?
As things stand, yes. If there's no significant change, yeah.
Okay, Steve.
Absolutely, I think we're down, and unless we change quickly, we're down.
And Mark.
Yep.
And thanks for the show, guys.
Smiling.
Let's hope we're all wrong, yeah. Thanks all. See you soon. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye.